Have you ever felt this way? You try so hard, and yet you still feel stuck in the same place. You want to change your life more than ever, but instead of feeling hopeful, you only feel more anxious. It feels like you have been chasing for so long, and somehow, the harder you chase, the farther away the things you want seem to move. If you have ever felt like this, maybe the problem is not that you are not trying hard enough. Maybe you have simply been reaching in a way that is too tight, too rushed, too full of panic, trying to pull down things that were never meant to land in chaos. Today, I want to tell you a story about the universe, and a gate that never responds to words, only to frequency. That year, Elias felt as if his life had been trapped on a track with no end. Like most people, he had been taught the same rules since childhood. If you want success, suffer more. If you want to change your fate, push harder. If you want your wishes to come true, be more relentless, more unwilling to stop than anyone else. So he kept believing that if he wanted badly enough, worked hard enough, and refused to let go, the universe would eventually open the gate for him. So every day, he kept running. He ran through busy days, through one moment after another, when he tried to prove himself. Through all the voices that kept pushing him forward. On his back, he carried a heavy bag filled with unfinished wishes, unproven abilities, missed opportunities, and all the fear he never knew how to speak out loud. At first, he thought that was simply the weight of effort, but later he realized that the more he ran, the farther away his destination seemed to become. The more desperately he tried to prove himself, the more likely he was to make the wrong decisions. The more he longed for money, the more money seemed to slip away just as it came close. The more he tried to hold on to a relationship, the more the other person seemed to drift away. The more urgently he wanted to put his life back on track, the more his whole life began to feel like a pursuit with no finish line. One night, he was finally exhausted. In that strange moment between waking and dreaming, he arrived at a very quiet place. It was not a city, and not some fantasy world. It felt more like an entrance hidden deep within the universe, something that had always existed, though most people never saw it. Before him stood a tall gate. Carved into the gate was a single line. This place does not respond to language. It responds only to frequency. Elias did not understand it, but he stepped inside anyway. Beyond the gate was a silent space. At the center stood a great mirror. In front of it stood a man holding a dim lantern. He looked calm, almost ageless, and carried a presence so quiet that it made the whole space feel even stiller. His name was Lucian. Lucian did not ask Elias what he wanted. He only looked at him, breathless and worn out, and asked one question. "You have been running for so long. What do you think you are chasing?" Without thinking, Elias answered, "Success. Wealth. Happiness. The life I have been trying so hard to change." Lucian nodded, then said, "No, that is not all you have been sending out." He raised his hand and motioned for Elias to look into the mirror. The mirror did not show his face. Instead, it showed a chaotic mass of light. It flickered unevenly, like a signal full of static. Inside it, many voices were tangled together. "I do not have it yet. I am running out of time. I am not enough. If I fail to hold on this time, then I will lose everything." Elias froze. Lucian said, "You thought you were sending your wishes out to the universe, but these are what you have been sending too." The image inside the mirror began to change. Elias saw himself standing again and again before different gates, shouting, "I want wealth. I want happiness. I want success. I want to be loved." But not one of those gates responded to his words. They only glowed in silence and read the light buried deepest in his chest. And inside that light, there was no abundance, no peace, no trust. There was lack. There was urgency. There was "I do not have it." There was "I am not enough." Lucian looked at him and said slowly, "The universe is quiet. It does not begin by listening to what you say. It begins by reading what you have been living inside." Only then did Elias understand. Every time he had stood before a gate, he had not only been sending out wishes, he had also been sending out fear. The more desperately he wanted something, the more he was admitting that he did not have it. The more he begged for a result, the more he was sending the universe a signal that said, I lack this. And so the universe, like a perfectly faithful wall of echoes, amplified the frequency he was truly sending and returned it to his life exactly as it was. That was why the more he wanted something, the less he seemed able to reach it. The more anxious he became, the farther away his goal moved. Like a person trapped in mud, the more violently he struggled, the deeper he sank. Elias was silent for a long time before he finally asked in a low voice, "Then how do I change it?" Lucian did not answer right away. Instead, he led him into another space. There were no walls there, only two wells suspended quietly in the depths of the universe. The well on the left was called asking. The well on the right was called receiving. Lucian said, when a person lives in longing, their attention keeps staring at what is missing. But when a person begins to feel gratitude, even in the smallest way, they begin to guide themselves back out of the gap. Elias walked to the well on the left and looked in. In the water, he saw everything he did not have. Not enough money, opportunities that never arrived, relationships that gave no response, a life that had still not changed. That well magnified everything and made his whole life feel like lack. Then he walked to the well on the right. The water there was calm. It reflected not the final result, but small things. A breath that came a little easier. A morning that did not feel so panicked. An idea beginning to form. A relationship willing to move closer. Income that was still small, but truly flowing in. A direction he could not see before, but could finally see now. Elias frowned and asked, "What is the use of these? These are not what I actually want." Lucian looked into the water and answered slowly, "Gratitude is not morality. It is not a slogan. It is not asking you to pretend you already have everything. What it really does is move your attention from 'I do not have' to the things that are already on their way." That night, for the first time, Elias did not knock on any gate. He sat beside the well and awkwardly said a few words. "Thank you that I still have one steadier breath today. Thank you that even though I have not arrived yet, I am no longer standing where I once was. Thank you that some things, though they are not fully here yet, have already begun to come closer." At first, it felt absurd, but as soon as those words left his mouth, the chaotic light in his chest began to quiet down. It did not suddenly become bright, and it did not become perfect all at once. It simply stopped sounding like pure static. Lucian said, "Do you see now? This is not morality. It is mechanism. You are not performing happiness. You are changing the channel you live on." In the days that followed, Elias did not stop wanting, but he began learning how to move toward what he wanted in a different way. He no longer wrote only, "I want." Instead, he wrote things like these: "I am grateful that steadier income is beginning to form. I am grateful that strength is returning to my body. I am grateful that more fitting relationships are moving closer. I am grateful that a quieter, steadier rhythm of life is slowly making its way toward me." Slowly, things began to change. Not because the gate immediately opened, not because answers suddenly fell from the sky, but because his attention changed. Before, he could only see what had not arrived. Now he began to notice what was already on the way. Before, he could only hear anxiety. Now he could hear quieter signals. Before, he was always waiting for the result. Now he began to feel that he was already somewhere on the path of receiving. And stranger still, once he stopped panicking so much, things that had once been invisible slowly started to appear. A message he would once have ignored. An invitation he would once have been too afraid to answer. An idea that suddenly connected itself. A relationship that no longer needed him to drag it closer, yet came on its own. Even an opportunity he once believed he was not worthy of touching. Lucian told him, "Gratitude will not walk for you, but it will stop fear from dragging you backward. When you are no longer living only inside 'I do not have,' then you finally have the strength to move toward 'I am receiving.'" Much later, Lucian led Elias back to that first gate. The gate he had once tried to force open with all his strength was still there. Elias did not rush at it this time. He did not pound against it or try to prove that he was finally ready. He simply stood there in silence. The light in his chest was still not perfectly steady, But it was no longer screaming. The gate did not swing open at once. It only loosened very gently, opening a narrow crack. A breeze came through carrying a little warmth, and suddenly, Elias understood. Some gates are not forced open. Some wishes do not arrive when you are chasing them the hardest. They begin to move toward you when you are no longer made only of pursuit, when you are willing to see, willing to feel gratitude, willing to receive. And in the end, Lucian said only one thing to him. The universe does not answer your wishes first. It answers the frequency you bring to it. So in the end, real change does not always begin with trying harder. Sometimes it begins with one very quiet sentence. Thank you. I am ready to receive more beauty.